Welcome to Mzansi Political Safari. My name is Lavesh and I am your host. Today I am joined by Maria du Toit from Build One South Africa. Maria, welcome to the show. I hope you are doing well.
Oh, good evening, and thank you so much for having me here. I'm totally excited to be here. Thanks.
So, Maria, big news from Bossa today. You guys announced that you will be contesting in all 9 provinces as well as national in the upcoming elections. So, can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, today was a very exciting day, Lavesh. So we were today having a press conference outside the IEC offices. And then we proudly announced that we had received about 140,000 signatures that we were going to present to the IEC, which means that we are now contesting nationally as well as in all of the 9 provinces. It was a great day for us because we exceeded the signatures that were required. And it was also a great way of getting the Bosa name out there.
That's fantastic. I heard a lot about it on the news on my drive back home from work. Everybody was talking about it. So, congratulations to you guys on that. Okay.
Thank
Now,
you.
I believe that one of the biggest issues facing the people of South Africa currently is the issue of crime. Could you tell me what BOSA plans to do with regards to the rampant crime levels? Do you have any plans in place should you get into power? Let's take, for example, Gauteng. Do you guys have anything specific that you would like to do? Do you agree with the implementation of the crime prevention wardens? Yeah, you can just give me a bit more detail on that, please.
Yeah, so the crime wardens is a bit of a contentious issue because it seems as if the positions were created almost unilaterally by a particular minister, and these positions appeared out of nowhere. It's not even known to the public whether these positions were probably budgeted for, from whose budget they are being paid, and it could easily be seen as a political ploy that has been now unleashed on us just before the elections. There could be two motives behind having wardens, and the one is to create the image that our current government is able to create employment. That is the one scenario, and the second scenario is that just before the elections, to have now people on the ground that have been placed there by an ANC government, it also creates a bit of a uneasy environment. But what I did notice is when we were in the CBD campaigning with our deputy leader, Nobuntu Glaser-Webster, a whole gang of wardens walked by us. And it was quite reassuring to see a group of people walking around that are there to keep law and order. And that is something that is lacking in our communities today in South Africa. So although there's a negative view towards the wardens, there's also this positive feeling towards them because you feel that if something were to happen to you, that you could quickly reach out to somebody that would be able to assist you. Now, as a political party and as a National Assembly candidate for Build One South Africa, what I do see lacking when we discuss politics in general is that there are no real ideas being thrown about about addressing crime levels in South Africa. And there's no amount of ideas that can be put out there that will be successful if we don't address crime. So even if we talk about land redistribution, wealth redistribution, revitalizing a township economy, none of that is going to work, Lavesh, if we don't address crime. Because when we try and put money towards a cause, the money gets derailed and ends up in other people's hands where it shouldn't be. And it never results in that service actually be given to the public of South Africa. So if we were to look at crime in South Africa, we have criminal networks that are operating everywhere in state-owned enterprises. Even in the South African police services, there are criminal cabals operating as we speak. So those have to be dismantled for any policy, any idea that is being introduced by a political party to have any kind of effect. So it takes us also perhaps to the environment of cadre deployment, where any politician worth his or her salt that comes into power has to identify and remove cadres. And what we're saying there in terms of removal, it must be a lawful removal and a valid investigation. But where people are in positions where they are either unqualified, they have to be taken out and replaced. And we have to also identify the criminal networks that are all over the country. What we've spoken to also about police is we want to take it down onto a local community policing level. And we're looking at public and private partnerships to be able to do it. So we want to strengthen our metro police. We want to strengthen our community policing sectors. And that would be one way of addressing crime in our country.
Okay, thank you for that. Yes, one of the things that I seen that they mentioned now when the Gauteng budget came about, and that was the implementation of the Vuma cam system across the province to help alleviate crime and that. So I think that might be a way to go. It'll definitely be something to look at, but I would suggest that whoever comes into power and takes over Gauteng looks at other options as well instead of just the Vumacam option. I'm not too sure if you do agree with me on that.
Yeah, so whatever we do, this Boomer camp option, we need definitely more details around it. The type of budget that's been given, the amount of people that are going to be allocated, who are the people going to be allocated? Will they have powers of arrest? Will they be able to also tap into the current South African police services system and result in arrests and prosecution? So what we're really lacking in South Africa is, number one, we're lacking a will by our South African police services to actually give attention to the things that we report on. That has to be addressed. And we need whatever we implement in terms of policing, local community structures, they have to lock into the system of the South African police services so that we have this free flow of actually committing an arrest, handing the person over to the South African police services, and then having an effective police mechanism after that. And what is also sad, Lavesh, is now to hear that something new is going to be introduced. Always our current government is coming with new ideas, but we're never looking at taking what we currently have, the South African police services, and making it into an effective system. So we're always just throwing money after the problem and creating new positions. So now the wardens are outside of the South African police services system. Why is that? So is our government actually admitting that the South African police services are superfluous? We don't need them anymore. Is that what we are saying? Or that we cannot make them effective, so we keep on maintaining and paying the police, but now we're going to introduce the wardens, we're going to introduce the Vuma camp. What will be introduced thereafter? So what is the thinking and the rationale behind all of this? So I'm not buying totally into the system. I'm not buying into always throwing more money at a problem. And what is it really going to address? So we've got this idea, but what is the policy and the paperwork behind it? Has it been shown to us?
Thank you. Yes. You make a very good point on that. We like to throw money at everything without actually looking at what we already have. And that is a big problem with South Africa. But I think one of the biggest reasons for that is corruption, because everybody's trying to give their friends businesses, even though they are unqualified or anything like that. So we definitely need to look at this on a broader scale, as you mentioned, and find out more information about it. Okay, and one final thing from me, or actually from you. Uh, I'm going to give you the usual 4 minutes that I give guests on the show to tell me why we, as ordinary South Africans, as voters, should vote for Build One South Africa.
Okay, so thank you for the opportunity of 4 minutes. The one thing that I want to mention is that we've always looked at electoral reform. So Build One South Africa has looked at the current electoral system and found it to be lacking. Politicians are not accountable to the people who voted for them. And initially, when Build One South Africa was founded by Mzansi, it was supposed to have been a movement of independent candidates, much like the American system of the Republicans and the Democrats, whereby any one individual, including yourself or myself, if we were to run for independent, could have become president of this country. But instead, what we have is a political system. We're voting for political parties, and then they internally vote for their own president, which they then put in the union buildings. So we are looking at electoral reform and holding politicians accountable to grassroots. The other thing that distinguishes BOSA from other political parties is that we have maintained our independence throughout these elections. So some will criticize us, and some will like the fact that we haven't joined a moonshot. So we currently have not formed a coalition with any political party, and we haven't compromised ourselves, we believe, by the funding monies that we have received. So we don't have any invisible people we submit pulling our strings. So we are a totally independent party. We have announced our candidates, our Build One South Africa candidates for National Assembly and Provincial Legislature, and they are available on the website. I am one of them. You could go there. You could look for my qualifications. I'm an attorney practicing for 24 years. You would then be able to go and Google me and see whether I have a clean background or not, whether I'm a state capture individual or not. So we've maintained to keep clean candidates that are properly qualified, that have not been implicated outside. And we obviously then pushing that point of having ethical leaders. Then one campaign that we've run, Lavesh, quite diligently is that we are not a government in waiting. So we haven't told people, vote for us and we will do things for you after being voted in. We are already a government in working, which means in the West Rand, we have delivered water tanks to communities. We have donated wheelchairs. We have dug boreholes and so on, showing that we already want to serve our communities. We've created bonds with communities and with civic organizations. And I stay and live in Tshwane, and we have maintained excellent relationship with many, many civic organizations in Tshwane. So we've already formed partnerships with communities. For example, we have already held meetings regarding the fact that, for example, in Tshwane, the Mamelodi Mahuba Valley Phase 4 residents haven't had water for 4 years. And we have already engaged with a mayor that is currently in office in Tshwane to get water to those residents. So what stands out for me in terms of the current politicians that we have, because BOSA wants to introduce new blood into the system. We want a new type of politics. We want fresh ideas being thrown around. And what we're seeing from our current politicians is the excuses that we are given. Hello, please come and fix my potholes. I can't, we don't have petrol. We don't have pothole mix. For whatever reason, my potholes cannot be attended to, right? And then what we're saying is that if our politicians have so many excuses that they are unable to serve us, then let us bring in the new blood. Let us bring in the Maria du Toits and the Mmusi Maimanis and the Nobuntus and the Maotus, the Ernest, whatever, my Gauteng Provincial Council leaders. Let us bring in politicians that want to work, that are not going to look at excuses that stop us, and that are ready to put our hand to the wheel. What is also important about Build One South Africa is in the name. So the name is to build one South Africa for all South Africans. So we want to move away from race-based politics, where the color of your skin determines the political party that you vote for. We want a political party that serves the interest of all South Africans, so that we move away from the legacies that we have, and we can move into a future where we are a post-liberation country, and that we are not still stuck in the liberation politics of the 90s and the 2000s. So that is what BOSA stands for. I believe that our leader, Mmusi Maimane, is well known. He is he has his qualifications as a politician, if I can put it like that. He has served his term in previous political parties that he felt weren't serving the needs of South Africa. And that speaks for itself. And we have a beautiful manifesto that you can read with great ideas that resonates with many of the new political parties that are out there. So I am asking you to please put your vote with BOSA, Build One South Africa. I will be there as a National Assembly candidate. You will be voting for people that are like myself, really eager to get dirty, to get our hands on the wheel and to run this country, rid it of corruption, and create a future for ourselves and our children. And what I also want to say is that it always seems like such a task, and you must cut me if I'm speaking too long, that South Africa's problems are so complicated that they cannot be solved. But I think that's one thing that we have to get over, is that it is possible to save our country. This is one thing we must learn in this election, is that it is possible. We mustn't be despondent. We must get out there and vote. And if we can tackle just two things, load shedding and corruption, that our country will be well on its way to 5% economic growth, on par with other countries, and we will have all the money we need to attend to all the maintenance and infrastructure developments our country needs. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Maria. Very informative. Uh, I generally do. So it went like but over 4 minutes, but you know what? The podcast is aimed at the youth, and I want to focus on, educating the youth. I want them to know who to vote for. I want us to better this country. So even if it's over the time, I don't really mind as long as it's informative and it benefits our viewers and our country. That is all that I look for. So, thank you, Maria, for joining me on today's episode. I really look forward to seeing what you guys do in the country in the upcoming months. Thank you so much. You were listening to the Mzansi Political Safari. My name is Lavesh, and I am your host. Please like, subscribe, and share.